case was a case of an individual left to fight 3 battles alone. The first battle was against community mindset of people with albinism. The second, the enemy of fear and suspicion that lived in the privacy of his mind and heart, making him suspect his own friends and the intention of their friendship. When he skips an interview organized by a friend for fear that it could be a criminal trap set in place to get him in trouble, Sadi Osman, a journalism student with albinism, is forced to rethink of other ways he could do his job safely and disapprove the naysayers wrong.
Sadi, this is my cousin Alin. She is a makeup artist who will be doing makeup for Voisan during shooting of her music video. I have talked to Alin to help you get the interview with Voisan. This is the house they will be doing the shooting from.
Hello. Yeah, nishaongea na umsako ready. Yeah, wera nishamaliza. Umsa yeye namleta kesho. Sawa, situpatane tu penye watu tunapatana hapo. Tamleta hapo.
And lastly, the limitations that made him be who he was. Challenged with the limited vision problem that caused him to keep logging in wrong websites and channels.
I'm an engineer by profession, and having done water and sanitation and being an engineer in water and the building fraternity, it has not been very easy because people have wrapped up conscience. If you look at me, you'll realize I'm a man in dreadlocks. And dreadlocks have always been assumed to be addressing or an outlook for thugs, drug lords, and the stuff. I was desperately looking for a project. I went to a company to look for a job. They had advertised the tender, and the tender had been advertised, and all my paperwork was giving me an upper hand. The experience and my presentation was giving me an upper hand. But just because I have dreadlocks, someone would comfortably go back to the white man and tells the white man, this man in dreadlocks is a thug. This man in dreadlocks belongs to the wrong groupings in Kenya. He cannot get this job. So I lost a job just because someone was seeing me in dreadlocks and assuming that I'm a thug, I belong to the wrong group, but not really understanding why does this man have dreadlocks. My advice is this. They say good things come to those who go out and make them happen. They don't come to those who sit and wait. What do you feed your mind? What do you see yourself? I would even go biblical and tell you in Jeremiah, the 1st chapter, God is asking Jeremiah, what do you see? And Jeremiah answers what he sees. God tells him, you've seen right. He asks him another time, what else do you see? Around 12, 13 there. And Jeremiah still says, I can see an almond tree, stuff and all that. So the concept is, what do you see? If you see failure, you possess failure, because confession brings possession. So set your mind, desire on what you want to achieve, what you want to see, what you want to have, and you'll have it.
Now, the other problem is that some of the leaders or some of the pastors or some of the elders that the youth need to pick an example from are also addicted to the same pornography and video. So the youth wonders, whom shall we follow?
Mi naona wajafanya poa juu ukiangalia kitu ya kwanza wamemkosea Reverend heshima.
After 3 hours of desperate struggle, Osman finally managed to get 2 stories on internet that will change his life forever. The first was a motivational audio podcast that encouraged him to pursue the career of his dream, which he had already chosen.
I would really say no one is really limited. Like another example I have of a student who was in my class. Of course, I teach journalism, and the student has to do, all the practical work, camera, editing, and so on. So I was teaching in an institution which this studio where we do the practical work was on the 3rd floor. And fortunately, there was no lift. But I had this student who was using a wheelchair, because of an accident he had. And he was like the best photographer I've ever met. But he was able to, carry on with journalism, even, take photos in, events, very busy places, and just grow his skill. So for me, I would say, if a person with disability has this dream of becoming this or that, it's only for the society to try and make accommodations so that he's able to, or she's able to pursue their career. Because that kind of thinking that people with disabilities don't have certain abilities has led the society to stigmatize them, perhaps force them into certain careers that they didn't want, take up vocational, training, and so on. And in fact, there's a very interesting story about, a friend of mine called Paul Mugambi, who is blind, and who says that there's a time, when he was in school, donors came and they were giving students, apparatus for being cobblers. But when they got to him, those apparatus had finished. And he said he thanked God because they didn't give him those things, meaning he could become whoever he wanted. And today he's done some bit of law, and he's an activist and a very productive member of society. But if that stereotype of the society had continued, you see, they would have stifled his dreams. He's blind, but he has 1 or 2 or 3 degrees, and he's a productive member of the society. In fact, even currently I have one student with limited vision, but he's managing well. In fact, I can't even notice him in class. He's just participating like any other student. So for me, I'm a strong believer that if we create the correct environment for people with disabilities, then they can take up any career that they so wish.
The second story inspired him launch a talk show on the threat of cybercrime to the church in the age of internet and social media.
As young people, we don't believe in the claims about an ancient curse. We don't believe in curses.
The return of incest in the community is very much activated or steered up with the watching of several things on the media, pornographic films, watching shows, and many other things that contribute very much to participation in such immoral acts. And also reading of bad or immoral books, which also contribute to that. It has contributed quite a lot to the return of incest, such that a boy or a girl will want to practice that what she saw or what he saw with the aunt or with the sister, and that brings up another seed that is cast in the community.
Curses don't work for this generation. I know so many young people who are involved in things that are said to attract curses, but they are not dead.
We define what is right and what is wrong. We don't believe in curses. Our future is today and now.
After watching Alex Preacherman of the reality of curses, Amos Holy is said to have been inspired to break bad. He began by reading the book The Undocumented by Zach Oslan and wishing he would get the supernatural powers Eddie Morana, a character in Oslan book, talked about.
I didn't want to believe what I was hearing from Eddie Morana. I had come across the strange claims in novels and movies. In the privacy of my mind, I was convinced Eddie was another classical case of senile dementia. Another crazy old man convinced me by his sick mind he had committed a crime 30 years before as a result of a supernatural exchange program that happened when he was in high school. I could not believe that one's destiny could be swapped with another person's destiny, so that if you were born to be a priest, you ended up as a criminal because you're living someone else's life and not the life you're destined to live from the beginning.
I also read the book by Zach Oslan, and I was like, if what Eddie Morana says in the book is real, then I want that experience. Like I walk into a lonely field in the grass, pick it up and pull out some powerful ugly looking gun, then go hunting for all the bad boys who molested me back in high school. For me, that will be justice.
I want to come before you and to bring into your notice that we have discovered, and particularly have discovered the film which I shared some months ago about internet and about social media. The knowledge parents have about social media has been wrongly used.